when it comes to those early customers, partners, was it challenging? I mean, I don't know the space that you're in. I mean, just based on what I've read and everything else, we'll assume it's kind of an old school. It seems kind of old school, generally speaking. Um, did you have a problem being taken seriously, because of your age at that time?
Yeah, both from investors, employees, and customers. And I'd actually argue employees might have been the hardest, but I'll start on customers, which was it's funny today. I sell all the time as co-founder, CEO. As a power, I'm reaching out to so many brands in our pipeline, so many companies we want to meet, saying, "Hey, I'm personally reaching out. This is not a fake email. I don't actually write that, but like, hey, we'd love to partner with you. Here's why I'm excited." I give almost every one of our customers my cell phone number. Speaking of customer obsession, and I don't have multiple cell phones. And so the point is, these are a lot of founder led businesses, a lot of brands or enterprises, but they love that we are a founder led company. So today it's a superpower in some ways. But when I was 18, it was like my biggest fear. We get made fun of sometimes because we were on the Forbes 30 under 30, just meaning it has a connotation. People joke about it. But we got nominated by one of our investors, and we actually called Forbes and we're trying so hard for them not to put us on it. And we were trying to get them to take us off because they posted 18 and 19 at the time. And we were like, this is the last thing we want with all of our customers. This is the last thing we want with the market. And so, frankly, like to our earliest customers, and apologize to any of them if they're watching, uh, I said just Sean Henry, business development. I tried to avoid my age at any cost. I didn't want them to use any of those against us and think, oh, they're too young to handle it. And I'll never forget, we met one of our first customers in person, and he kind of started pushing me and challenging on it, like, how old are you? And I was like, oh yeah, like 20s. And I was like 20 at the time. And I'm like, please don't push this issue too far. But I would actually argue, and same thing, like when we were leaving an accelerator program, we were talking to some investors about raising our first $200,000. And that was right when we had kind of reset the revenue. We were now selling to new customers. And they were kind of like, you're two 18-year-olds, you're barely any revenue, starting to grow. If I give you 100, $200,000, like the business is probably worth 100, $200,000. Like I am the business if I give you this money. And we're like, okay, that's the wrong approach from some more traditional venture capitalists than kind of more modern and West Coast. But employees, that's where I'd really hang the hat. That was the hardest. And when you think about our first employees, we were hiring the people who are willing to work for not a lot of money, but also for two 18-year-olds. And our hardest was when we wanted to start now hiring real leaders, not just our first BDR or AE or our first scrappy engineer. It's like, who can actually help us level up? And that's where I give a shout out to our mutual friend, David Hardwick, who joined as our first VP of engineering and added so much credibility to the business as coming from one of the most successful startups in Atlanta, having call it a decade or so on Jacob and I, maybe a little more. Being able to then go to his network and say, yes, this is a real place. You should come join. And so serious shout out to him because it was him and then our COO who's still with us, Steve Swan, and others that really started to level up. Okay, people are willing to join. I know this is a long answer, but I'd add one more, which is I'll never forget one call I had where we get on with this guy who applied to Stort. He applied. We didn't reach out to him. And he literally just starts the call with like, yeah, I just want to say I read an article before this. You guys are like 18 years old. Why are you wasting my time on this call? Like, not a chance I'm going to work for you. And quite literally like hung up. We were like, okay, like that's quite a weird way to do that. You could just email you're not interested. You could not show up. But again, you applied, and so you clearly didn't do your research before applying.
I think everyone pretty much has imposter syndrome, and if you already have that, being layered on top of the age and everything. I told you before, when I was early days, 22 years old, and I was running the Vocalocity company, and I met with a partner, and I'll never forget that they said to me, "How old are you?" And I was like 22, and they said, "We're not gonna do business with you. Like, how are we supposed to trust our customers to a 22-year-old?" And I looked at that company, basically every 6 months until they went out of business, and we scaled. And I was like, okay, well, our business scaled and you went out of business anyway. But not that I hold it against them.
There's some quote out there, cheesy enough. I think it's from like a James Bond movie that I've always loved and I've used sometimes. And it's like, uh, youth may not be a guarantee of innovation, but age is also not a guarantee of wisdom or experience. And so judge us by our merits as much as possible.